All right. What is happening? Tuesday Night Live. We're going to have some Strongman talk tonight. If you're here, say hello, say what's up. I'm going to simulcast, actually. I'm going to get this going on my Instagram as well. So we can just make it happen, have a big old party. Sweet. So, Tuesday Night Live, here's what we want to talk about tonight. But if you're joining me and want to ask some questions, fire away. Yeah. We're going to talk about America's Strongest Man and Woman, which just happened at the Mr. Olympia this past weekend. It was the 90 kilo and also the 82 kilo women that were on there this weekend. Pretty cool lineup events. I want to talk a little bit about the new ownership of Strongman Corporation. Gino, what's up, man? The legend himself. You don't know who Gino is in powerlifting? I don't know what to tell you, man. Get cool. That's that. So we're back in here. So I'm going to give this about 30 more seconds, and then we'll kind of start getting into some of these topics. Like I said, we're going to start off with talking about America's Strongest Man. We're going to talk about new ownership in Strongman Corp. James Deffenbaugh and Lynn Morehouse just bought that out. And we're going to segue that into talking about the future of Strongman federations, kind of what's going on, because there's lots of really cool, exciting things in that world. And I'm just going to kind of give you some personal thoughts on different coaching and coaching methods in Strongman and strength training and how to select a good coach. So that's that. All right, about 15 more seconds, and then we will get into this thing. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll answer them as we move along here, but let's go ahead and break this thing down. So America's Strongest Man was this weekend at the Mr. Olympia. Really awesome show. I thought that they did a really good job with these events. In particular, the staging and setup and the live stream were all really good this year. And they did a really good job at maintaining the schedule, which is pretty exciting because I'm getting ready for the official Strongman games in December, and they have already released a schedule and events for all of the different weight classes and groupings. And since Lynn Morehouse is the director of the official Strongman games and is now one of the owners of Strongman Corporation, that really bodes very, very well. So that's a pretty cool thing to see. You have the now two-time reigning America's Strongest Man, Lucas Hatton. That guy is a stud, dude. That guy is such a beast. Really love watching that guy. I was fortunate enough to see him at the America's Strongest Man last year. It was a pretty cool show, and he beat some really unbelievably talented people. Dylan Thompson, who I know from my time up in Chicago, was in there. Rob Kearney was in the mix there. And then even this year, you see Lucas Hatton beating out people like Tim Buck put on an awesome performance, got second place, and Kevin Ferris came in third. And if you have been following Pro Strongman at all, then you would probably recognize Kevin Ferris. He's competed at the very, very highest level pretty well. I mean, World's Strongest Man finalist one year, if I remember correctly. He's competed very well at Giants Live. And one of the most amazing things from the weekend is they had a shield carry that was the America Shield. So just kind of like a big Husafel-esque shape thing. And he ended up carrying that, if I remember correctly, 425, maybe 450. Carried it for over a quarter of a mile. So that is unbelievable. Really a pretty awesome performance. Now, on the lighter side, in the 90 kilo division, a really, really good lineup of athletes. You ended up having Nick Myers, former World's Strongest Man in the 90 kilo class, ended up taking this one. And they were talking about the whole time that he had some sort of leg infection coming in. So it's always kind of scary to think about when somebody has a injury or something that's holding them back where they're not at their full potential and they still take it either way. That's that. So breaking down some of the events, I guess I'll shout out to Derek Owens finished second. Pretty amazing performance. And who ended up coming third on that one for the 90 kilo class? Let's see here. I want to make sure I get this right. Um, 90 kilos. Nick O'Hare. Oh, how could I forget? Nick O'Hare from Michigan. Jeez, I tell you what, that guy is freaking yoked, bro. I know they were at the Olympia, but that guy looked like he was damn near stage ready just for strongman. And he hinted at, as a 90 kilo, he hinted that he's going to want to try and go for the deadlift world record, which he teased that he wants to try to do 900 pounds. That would be insane. I wish him the absolute best. I really hope he does it. That's crazy. The current 90 kilo deadlift record is 881. So it's 400 kilos set by Dan Benson, who's also a freaking machine in his own right. Like really, really amazing. Now on the women's side, you had an absolutely obliterating, dominating performance across the board from Summer Johnson. I think she went 5 for 5 on the events, which is nuts, man. I mean, it's always just unbelievable when you see such dominance from somebody. Now, Summer also just set the 82 kilo women's class record for the deadlift, 671 pounds, I believe, which is the third heaviest deadlift ever completed by a woman in strongman history. So hats off to Summer. Really amazing stuff. And in the open, you ended up having Olga Liasha took the overall prize and a pretty good lineup. Nadia Stowers in second, perennial contender for any competition she steps in, and Erin Murray end up finishing in third. Now, shout out to Erin Murray because I love when I see this happen. Erin Murray was actually third in the 82 kilo class and the open class. So she would come out and do back-to-back the same event, just will come out as like a warm-up run for the 82 kilo class and then come do it heavier later. So breaking down some of these events, I thought it was a good classic mix of things. You had a Trump log, which a lot of people have asked, what is that? That's when you have two options of a weight. So you have one that's heavy and one that's lighter. If you get any reps at all with the heavier implement, that trumps the lighter weight option. So always kind of like having those options. That was followed up by a yoke walk, this America's Shield that we talked about earlier. And even for the open women, they had 300 pounds in that thing. And you're seeing some people like Summer Johnson were hitting 125 feet with that. That's just incredible. Followed by a deadlift ladder, a bag toss, which was pretty cool because they actually took that up to 18 feet this year. That's pretty cool. I like the variety of that. It seems to be a standard recently that all the women are either at 12 or 13 feet for a bag over bar toss, and also that all men are at 15. But they actually took that up to, if I remember correctly, 18 feet. It might have been 17, but either way, we're talking about a pretty large jump in the normal run there, and then finish with a stone series. So I got to hand it to Strongman Corp because, as we'll take it into the next kind of point here, is recently Strongman Corp came under new ownership between James Deffenbaugh and Lynn Morehouse. If you don't know either of these two guys, James was a national champion a few years ago, and he's very active behind the scenes. So when you used to see a lot of these streams, he would be the one running that before ADL started coming in and doing a lot of that. And he also is the owner of Spider Strength. So you might have used their sandbags or like the Spider Tacky or even the Spider Grip Chalk. That is all James Deffenbaugh. So he's real active behind the scenes. I believe, if I remember correctly, he's the guy who put together a lot of the score sheets that you see in all over the place with Strongman Corporation. And then Lynn Morehouse, of course, he's been running OSG the last few years. So as it stands now, Official Strongman Games has pathways to get to what they are, claiming as world championships. And I think fairly, for me, in my opinion, if I want to be the greatest lightweight strongman athlete in the world, my goal is OSG. I think that is the highest caliber competition. It draws the most international people, but it's not super clear cut on your pathway to get there from the United States. So they have regionals right now, which I won the Southeast regionals right here. So that's how I booked my ticket. But in other countries, you have, Europe's Strongest Man, British Strongest Man, Scotland's Strongest Man. You have different countries in Africa that are having qualifiers now. You have ones in the Middle East. There's even competitions in Japan coming out. But these are all under the official Strongman Games banner. Now, because of this news that is coming out with the new ownership in Strongman Corporation, there's more pathways to get to that OSG. So even some of the winners and podium spots, I'm not sure the exact numbers on that, are now eligible for competing at OSG. So that's all through Strongman Corporation, which is really interesting to think about because, it's just more opportunities for athletes in the sports. Now, what I hope happens here is that this trickles down to the lower levels because strongman is such a big sport. There's not a lot of, what's a different way to say this? I guess I would just say the quality control is not the same at the very top as it is everywhere else. So this often boils down to individual promoters and also state reps and state chairmen. So different states have different levels and quality than another. For example, there's 3 Strongman Corporation shows in all of Florida right now. So that would just be the Static Monsters coming up. There is Florida's Strongest Man, and there's also Miami's Baddest. And simultaneously, there are, 25 USS shows. Now, a couple different ways to look at this. One, there's more exclusivity just in the state of Florida alone for Strongman Corporation. And that makes it more difficult to get to the highest level. At the same time, it's a much easier way to get to like nationals for United States Strongman because there are so many shows and the qualifying routes are easier. This is something that I can like ramble on and on about, but Joseph Tower, I see your question. We'll get to you in just a second. I don't know. I really don't want to kind of go into the ins and outs of that, but I'm somebody that really likes to help grow the show, grow the sport in any possible way. So at the end of the day, I do think it's good to have a lot of different competitions out there. And I personally would like to see a lot more from Strongman Corporation. So Nick, I see you, man. It's good that you're doing Strongman Corp for Static Monsters. I love it. I want to see more. I personally would love to see you do a full 5 event show. I will probably be there as a competitor if you line that up in Estero, dude. Not going to lie. I want to see more of these competitions across the state, because it would give me excellent. Love to hear it. Because it just doesn't make sense for me right now to like go and train at, my timing personally, it doesn't really link up with, going to Florida Strongest in January because like I'm going to be on the back end of training for OSG and I don't really feel like reloading just for that to qualify for, nationals or something like that. I want more options as an athlete to get me to that next level. And again, like pick and choose, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to ramble on too much with that, but very cool. So it sounds like we'll have a Strongman Corporation show in Estero. You heard it here first, an exclusive. But don't hold me to that. But hey, I'll support you in any way possible. You already know that, brother. All right, so I have a question coming in. Any suggestions on how to get better at back toss for height if you're new to the back toss and haven't trained it much? Okay, so obviously, practice, practice, practice. My biggest recommendation on that is to actually have something to measure yourself out. So this is what gets measured, gets managed. If you can rig up, either a bar to throw over for height that you can measure, or if you have like a very high wall somewhere, you can mark out like actually what type of improvements that you are getting week in, week out. Now, the other way to improve, let's say you only have 1 or 2 bags. Some things that I've heard people doing are making individual Ziploc bags of like 5 pounds or so of something heavy. So either like lead is very, very dense. So it's very heavy. So you can put like a bag of that and stuff it in so you can train back and forth with like 20 or 25 pounds, right? If you want to train your body in general, this is a good just training principle. It's all about force production. So if you are using lighter weights, but you are accelerating more, that means you are producing more force. Now, that's also going to tax your system a lot less because it's just like not as heavy. Very straightforward. lost my train of thought there. So when you're training with lighter weights, you can train your body to produce more force, which will in turn allow you to throw heavier, harder bags higher. So, it's a good way to kind of mix around heavy throws, light throws, and give your body that ability to get more power in your throws. And if you absolutely don't have bags, kettlebell swings, box jumps, even some high pulls, Olympic lifts. If you have a soft medicine ball, something like that would work really well, to just throw and chuck as hard as you can. Think about anything that's going to train your body to get that triple extension where you're extending through your hips, your knees, and your ankles as hard and violently as possible. So that is Olympic lifting, and really throws of any types, jumps, swings. That's how I would handle that. So Cody Adams question says, charity show is going to Helene and Milton victims. Yes. I'm going to go ahead and I'll plug and promo that. So I am running a Hope for the Holidays competition December 21st in Bradenton, Florida. It is a national record-setting event and also a USS Nationals qualifier. So this is going to be a 100%. All proceeds are going to hurricane relief. If you don't know me, you probably do, but I live in Bradenton, Florida, and we've gotten hit pretty hard by both Helene and Milton, as have many, many, many other places in the States. So this is one way that, I would love to really give back. I hope you can be a part of this if you're local and you can come on and set a national record. Nick Smith, man, hey, I would love to see you come hit a big deadlift, brother. We can get you in and get you a national record for USS, because let me just put it this way. Some of the people that are telling me they're going to come set a national record, I know for a fact that you can beat some of them. So anyways, our options for that one, you have to do a press. So either a log clean and press or an axle clean and press. I'm not going to stop you if you want to do both. Then a deadlift. So either a standard deadlift off the floor with a deadlift bar or an 18-inch deadlift with a Texas power bar, not a deadlift bar for the 18-inch deadlift. Deadlift suits are allowed for that one. And then all athletes are doing a farmer's hold for time. So those are set and established weights. I don't have those posted yet, but I will have them up by the end of the week. So that's picking up off the ground, grip strength test, holding as long as you can. Now, I'm also going to have some other just kind of bonus fun things to try out. Like I'll have like a Denny ring set up. We'll have some tire flips set up. I'm trying to get a sandbag cornhole board built. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, to get a SWAT truck to do some truck pulls that day. So I'm really looking to make this kind of a big community event. Would love for you to be a part of it. Iron Podium, Hope for the Holidays 18, Bradenton, Florida, hurricane relief. 100% of proceeds are all going to this. So any help or whatever is welcome. Would love to see you there. Corinne, is there a giant pumpkin throwing competition? Can you start one? If not, you know what? Believe it or not, that does exist out there in the world. In Florida, not sure. So maybe we can figure something out for that. One of my friends who I mentioned earlier, who was a competitor at America's Strongest Man, Dylan Thompson, he went viral on. He even made it to like Sports Center for winning and setting the record at a pumpkin throwing competition. I think he was in Central Illinois when he did that. Now they had this cool thing set up where it was just like they did at Strongman Corporation Nationals, where it was a series of lights and sensors, and however high you threw it up, it would trigger the lights and show like to the level you got. And I wish I knew how high he got. I wish I remembered, but I mean, it was like 30, 40 feet throwing a pumpkin up in the air. I mean, he's a big guy himself. He's got to be 6'6", 6'7", but that's that. So circling back around, December 21st, Hope for the Holidays 18, Bradenton, Florida. We'd love to see you there. It's up on Iron Podium. It is all events are national record eligible, so come be a part of it. Corinne, good to have you in. Hope you're doing well. Anyways, so I want to circle back to Joseph Tower just asked on this exact thing. Does Strongman Corporation / OSG have any relation to US Strongman and Iron Podium, or are they completely separate? So Iron Podium is just a site where Strongman competitions are hosted, scored. You can do registration. It's kind of an all-in-one Strongman registration software. Now, there is an agreement in place between Iron Podium and US Strongman. So technically, USS owns Iron Podium, but you can still host and register and sanction your Strongman Corporation show on Iron Podium. Strongman Corp is separate from USS. So previously, up until about a few months ago, Strongman Corporation and United States Strongman were actually owned by a divorced couple. Dion Masters just sold it to James Deffingbaugh and Lynn Morehouse, but she is out now. So I really hope there's some sort of collaboration coming in between this, but I think it's unlikely at this point. That being said, it's still a good thing that we have options in Strongman. I think a lot of people still view OSG as sort of its own separate pathway outside of Strongman Corporation, but that might be changing here coming soon. We will see. Now with USS, what's really cool is they have a growing professional division. So they do give out pro cards to some of their athletes now. What's sweet about the pro cards in USS, which they do not do in Strongman Corporation, is the pros in USS get paid monthly salaries. Okay, so currently they have an open division and a 220, and they also have, if I remember correctly, a 64 kilo, maybe it's 165 because it's in American units, a 165 and open women's weight classes. So if you earn pro status in USS, you get a monthly salary as long as you are a competitive strongman in the sport. You get that salary, which is pretty sweet. So that's awesome. Now, what's also cool about USS that we have coming up is there's going to be a whole series of shows that are attached to the IFBB circuit that are professional level. There's a lot of exciting stuff coming in on that. I don't think I'm allowed to divulge all of the details, but at the end of the day, if you are a good strongman, you should be picking the best and the hardest shows. And there is not one federation or another that is like the right way to go. There's a lot of really good options. I mean, it kind of comes down to what you want to do. So for me, my big goal is OSG. So I kind of put all my chips in towards that. And what that means is on my build up, on my competitive year up to that, I'm looking to get as many competitive reps as possible to be competitive at the big one. And that means I did an OSG regional. That means I did United States Strongman Nationals. And that means I did a Strongman Corporation regionals, because for me, that made the most sense to have very good competitive reps against a good field. Now, as I said earlier, I do wish there was more of a very competitive scene in Florida, but I'm working my absolute hardest on that. And also, I would love to see Strongman Corporation be a little more proactive in putting on bigger, tougher shows. But, you know, everybody should. So that's that. Any idea on what the salary is, or it varies? I do not know what that salary is right now, to be honest with you. I'm not sure what it is, but I think it is kind of nice. So the 220 growing scene in US Strongman, pretty cool. Brian Farrell's in the mix. Brian, get you back, brother. We got to get you back. Anyways, so that kind of covered a little bit of what I want to talk about the future of Strongman and Strongman federations. I really don't know where it's going to go. There's very exciting times. I mean, Strongman is the fastest growing sport that there is right now as far as strength sports are concerned. I mean, the mid 2000s, you saw both CrossFit and powerlifting exploding a whole lot. Like raw powerlifting had a huge resurgence in the late 2000s, early 2010s, and those have both pretty much capped out. As a matter of fact, I think CrossFit is actually losing popularity a little bit, but like compared to its super gigantic peak, it's not ever going to be not popular. But Strongman is where it's at. So you're having a lot of attention and eyeballs, and also just quality of people in the sport that are helping pushing this thing to the next level. I mean, just look at the stream companies alone. I mean, you have Valor and Venom, you have ADL, you have Alabama Strongman, just as three people who are already professional strongman streaming companies. Joseph Tower, thanks for jumping in, man. We'll talk soon. So yeah, really exciting times to be in the sport. You know, people like me, if you're here, you probably know me this way, but I do promote shows. I try my hardest to get them bigger and bigger and better. You know, got some streams locked in now, have some good, exciting things coming for some bigger and better equipment and events next year. It's just the right time to be in it, man. You have people that are kind of trying to competitively, reasonably outdo each other, and it's raising the standard for the level of competitions. Amazing. good times. So that's kind of what's going on there. If anybody has any questions about Strongman Corp, USS, OSG, or anything, I'd be happy to field that before I move into my next topic, which is going to be just kind of talking in general about strongman coaches and what I think is necessary to make choices about picking a good strongman coach for you. This is kind of an important topic for me that I've been thinking about a whole lot recently. So I'm going to give us about 10 seconds. If nobody's got anything, we will jump right in. Should have brought some water with me for this thing, but I think my voice is doing all right. So yeah, strongman coaches. This is just a topic I wanted to dig into a little bit. It's very important if you're going to get better at strongman to pick a coach. Now, full disclosure, I am one. I would hope that you would consider me to be a part of your coaching journey and process. But at the end of the day, what I would really rather hope for you is that you make the right choice for you. And here are the things that go into that. Number one, what you need and desire as an athlete, does that coach fit your needs? So again, your needs should be like their strength. When I was picking my coach, I was looking for somebody who is very, very good at helping lightweight or even smaller individuals crush their overheads. So that was a very important thing that factored into my decision. Number two, does that coach or person you're considering working with have good vibe and good energy? Are you and that person an energetic match? When I was looking for different coaches, there's one guy who I respect a whole lot, and still to this day, I will get his opinion on things, but I don't want him as my regular coach who I'm in constant communication with, because I thought the guy was completely nuts. So I couldn't really deal with that. Whether the guy's nuts or even if he's just like a big giant jerk, like that's not going to work with me, no matter how smart and how good that guy is. So when you're thinking about this for yourself, like this shouldn't be your friend. Your coach, like it's good to be friendly with them, and maybe over time, like you will develop a good relationship with them where you are close, but it needs to be somebody that you respect, will listen to, and you will trust and value their opinion. If it's somebody that's just, like a butthole all the time, or an ass, or mentally unstable, are you really going to want to listen to that person? I mean, you're going to be conflicted one way or the other. So I would just think about that. Regardless of who you end up choosing as your coach, you do need to see the process out. It's like anything else. It gets better the longer you run with it. If you've been strength training properly and you know how to follow long-term programs, then you know that you can successfully layer different things to complement each other. What do I mean by that? So most programs, not most, but many have a hypertrophy phase that comes before a strength and power phase, because a bigger muscle has the potential to be a stronger muscle. So if you're looking to maximize your strength, one way you can prep your body is to make the muscles bigger. Another way you can do that to prep your body to get stronger is to develop and work up your work capacity, just kind of increase your motor, build up your engine. So when we're thinking long term, you don't necessarily have to plan that stuff out for yourself, but a good coach will. So this is what I'm saying, when you need to be thinking long term, because we can successfully stack here, and then this element will stack perfectly right on top, and we can keep going here instead of like kind of being disjointed here, where we're slowly moving up, but we can just do it quick 1-2 on top of each other like that, right? So these are just important things. I mean, I think coaching is so vital to anybody that wants to be successful. Now, the other side of this too is don't be afraid to, look outside of who you're working with. I always talk to different people that I respect so I can get their feedback and opinions. So whether it's going to seminars or watching YouTube videos or listening to podcasts, or even just being active and involved in the sport, you need to remain open-minded that your coach may not have all the answers for you. That's going to be your A1 source, the first place you should go to, but consider looking at it with different ways, right? So like for example, I learned a couple things about the circus dumbbell from like a Lucas Hatton YouTube video, or my friend Tyson, who just won his pro card for Strongman Corporation Canada. Tyson helped me a whole lot with the circus dumbbell too, but it complemented what I was already learning and the absolute A+ expert coaching that I was getting from my coach Max. I just can't encourage this enough. If you are somebody who really like gives a shit, you need to like be very open-minded, because everybody's coming at this with a different perspective, different level of experience, and different philosophy that may line up with you, right? So somebody may have some very, very valuable perspective in almost the exact same situation that you are in, that your coach maybe never went through. So it doesn't mean that your coach is wrong or anything. It just means that the solution to your problems may take a little bit more creative thinking. Just remain open-minded. I mean, at the end of the day, you should know this. You don't know everything. And you need to like not have your head so far stuck up your butt that you think that only your small circle or whatever is going to have the answers. Just be open-minded, have some humility to that. That's that. So, it's an important decision. You need to be on a good match with good people to help you get better. There is no I in Strongman. So whether, again, it's people on YouTube, whether it's friends, whether it's people you've networked with at competitions, like don't be afraid to get outside your comfort zone or just ask people for help. That's that. So that kind of hits all of the things that I wanted to talk about. So what's your opinion on being coached by someone not in your weight class? That's a good question. I mean, my coach is a heavyweight, but his track record speaks for itself as far as his success with smaller people. And to a point, sometimes like some people's expertise is outside of their own physicality. What do I mean by that? Let's actually put this in an opposite way. Sometimes I'm more interested in people that can coach people that are not like themselves, because I can be weary that somebody is only coaching from a place of their own personal individual experience and not trial and error and learning with other people. Yes. So I'm going to give you an example right now. Zach Matthews, who just jumped in the chat. Zach Matthews, he says, Steve and I are built very different, but it's worked out well for me. So I don't know if you know this or not, Zach, and like just to give you some background and info about me, my background, I come from, I would call Josh Strong, one of my direct mentors. And a lot of the people that he worked with and that I was able to literally just be there in experience for while he was training them at the gym are very large, wide-shouldered people. So getting an understanding of like what worked like that for them has been able to apply to Zach very, very, very well. Just by like his like natural frame and build, my unique experience, I just so happen to have seen how a lot of like very tall, broad-shouldered people are successful with their training. And that's like, for example, somebody like Zach can handle a lot more upper back volume than a lot of other people, just like how they're built. That's just is what it is. So I don't want to ramble here. So let me kind of get back into a concise answer here. Sometimes people are only good at coaching their like themselves. And that makes me weary because like, I'm not sure if like they have any real education or background to coach others because they've only applied things like to their type. I'm actually more interested in people that can work with people outside of their own weight class or outside of their body type, because that demonstrates expertise and it also demonstrates a level of like critical thinking. So I really appreciate the fact that my coach works with a ton of women at different size, because it just shows that it takes, thinking to figure these things out. Not all principles are going to work for everybody. And I think that it is good to have, a mix of things for coaches, but there's no direct answer to this. Some people only coach, some people are heavyweights and only coach heavyweights. Phenomenal. Awesome. Some people are heavy and only coach lighter people. Awesome. You just have to make a good, well-informed decision. That's really all I got to say about that. And there's also nothing wrong with having a specialty, having a niche and an expertise. Let's say like a heavyweight, like some heavyweight people are only good at coaching heavyweight geared powerlifters in the bench press. And the very first thing I said about choosing a coach is, what is your need? And does that coach's specialty and strength match your need. Um, so what is it? That it's just that simple. I would kind of start there, find the energetic vibe and match, and then see if it's a good fit or not. Any tips for learning the split jerk? Um, Now, I'm going to admit fully on this. As far as learning the split jerk, like I'm okay at coaching Olympic movements, but I'm not super expert. One thing that I would recommend though is really, really, really focus on your footwork. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're always landing in the right position. So one thing you can do is start, with your feet where you would start your dip. You want to draw a line right through the center of your midfoot on the floor. You can actually do this like with some lines of chalk. Figure out the correct place that you're going to split your feet into and literally mark out lines on the floor where you want your front foot to be fully flat and then you want your back foot to be pointed like on the toes there. So start without any weight whatsoever. Just like find that spot and I would visualize how you're going to drop into that dip and then where you're going to end up. Okay. So then practice that time and time and time again, where you have those literal spots on the ground that you're going from here, splitting, keep practicing here over and over and over again, then slowly add even the lightest amount of weight to that. So you're practicing. So that would be kind of like a really good place to start. And then hire a good Olympic lifting coach after that. So Josh Pizzata just dropped in. He's another guy that's done really, really, really well. And me and him are completely different builds. Fortunately, I have to say, Josh, you're somebody who I can kind of throw anything at you because you recover so well. Josh can handle like a ton of volume because of his work. So that works phenomenally here. Who else we got? Leroy. Leroy says, I love following your program. There's stuff on there I didn't believe I could do, but I've pushed myself and made it. Awesome. If you would like to give any examples of that, would love to hear you. But I know some of the guys that I have following the All-American Games program right now, I had you guys doing a pretty high volume squat block, which a lot of you powerlifters are not, or I'm sorry, a lot of you strongmen are not used to. So deal with it. Get stronger legs, get more condition. It's going to pay off. K-Walk, Campbell, what's up, my man? What's up, David? Jerry, if you're still here, man, I hope that answered your question. That would be a good place to start. I would just study people on YouTube, man. I mean, like I said, that's not really my area of expertise, but literally marking out those lines and areas on the floor where your feet need to land, I would just do that and drill it over and over and over and over again. And then watch yourself on video. So you really got to make sure that you are like successfully splitting so that you're dropping under the bar. So that would help there. You got it, man. Thanks for the question. Squats, 5-minute push, sled, push, pull. My conditioning sucks. Leroy, you were the man. I told you this after nationals, brother. Let's get that conditioning up. You got a lot of damage that you can do that I want to see happen for you, man. Zach Matthews said, Zach Tellender's YouTube videos are a great resource for starting split jerks or any Olympic lifting too. He's great at teaching the basics. Yeah, I like Zach Tellender. That's a good place to check out. So Jerry, check out Zach Tellender, ZT, the man. Very cool, guys. Well, thanks. I appreciate the questions. I'm going to hang out for just a couple more minutes. If you have any other questions, would like this to be pretty interactive. So feel free to fire whatever you got at me. Questions about training, questions about Pro Strongman, questions about UFOs, the moon landing, whatever you got, man. I'll give you about 2 more minutes here if nobody answers anything. But hey, strongman is the best sport in the world. It's really a amazing thing. But kind of to wrap up what we were just talking about, High Energy Ape. I wish I knew who that was, but what's up, man? Thank you so much. Thanks for all you do to promote the sport. I am really trying my best. But Carrie, I'll tell you what, it's like this, we're nothing without the athletes. So it is a sort of partnership. We work together. If I don't have people that are coming and putting on a show and trying their absolute hardest to do better and be better, then like none of this really matters. And it goes both ways. I mean, I think that we feed off of each other as athletes and promoters. I was saying this with coaching, like it's got to be a good energetic match. So when I'm putting on shows and when I'm trying to do these things like talk about strongman, do these lives, this and that, like I hope that some level of enthusiasm comes out. And I hope that like, those people out there are going to find me and we can, bring enthusiasm here and enthusiasm there and we can link and like bring it all together. So I appreciate you saying that. Like it's like, we're in this together. There is no I in strongman. And that's why people who are very egocentric don't last very long and don't do well. So, High Energy Ape, if you have a question on hypertrophy, please fire away. I'm ready for you, brother. Zach Matthews, are you planning on doing USS Nationals again next year? I sure am, bro. I sure am. Let me tell you why. I have not gotten over getting fourth place by half a point at Denver Nationals. I have not gotten over that shit, bro. And I think about it probably every single day. 4 seconds faster. 4 seconds faster on the sandbag event. I freaking won and I was national champion. And it stings a little bit. I get a little fired up thinking about it. But hey, man, live and learn. I've had to put in a ton of work on my sandbag since then because I don't want to ever mess that up again. And the events for USS Nationals next year are awesome, bro. The log press, log clean and press. My log is the best it's ever been, dude. It's the best it's ever been. Very excited about that. I'm awesome at frame carries. I'm elite at frame carries. Frame deadlift, I'm elite at frame. Yoke carry, I won the yoke last year. And then I'm missing whatever the fifth one is. So frame carry, frame deadlift, yoke, log clean press, sandbag throws. Done deal. I'll be just fine at those. Very exciting. So they line up well for me. It's in North Carolina. Would be fun to go. I'm going to have probably 6 or 7 people minimum training for it. So yeah, I'm definitely doing it. All right. Question from High Energy Ape. I've seen some people discussing the idea of stretching the full range to the limits under controlled eccentric tension while standard strength training. Interested in molecular physiology of the myosin heavy chains and actin molecules at extreme edges of the H band during those stretches. So I think I understand what you're asking. I'll just give you a little more simple term answer on that. So there is hypertrophy and there's also hyperplasia, right? Hypertrophy is lengthening of the current muscle fibers. So it is making what you currently have bigger. And then hyperplasia is actually creating new muscular fibers. Okay. So when we have hyperplasia, the only way that that's ever been proven scientifically to happen naturally is under weighted stretches. Okay. So there is potential that if you want to actually create new muscle fibers in your system, you need to be doing weighted stretches. Now, there's other benefits to doing that, even if it doesn't do that, such as improving your range of motion. So if you're somebody who's very stiff and muscle bound, let's say on like a bench or something, you can only, on a fly, you can only get like this far and you stretch yourself out to where you can now actually work your pec muscles through the full range of motion. You're going to be opening yourself up to more hypertrophy because you're working the full range now. You're not doing 2/3 of the movement. You can get 100%. So this is an area where I would give a shout out to my friend James Calvo on Instagram at Red Pill Physique. He does a lot of weighted stretch training. This also has been proven to work really, really well for the traps, right? So like heavy high pulls and stuff. I don't know exactly how much extensive studies there are on that, but I would say look at the evidence of people that train that way. And I would be, just from anecdotal evidence alone, I am convinced that it works and it is worth implementing weighted stretches for that potential for hyperplasia, the chance of increasing your hypertrophy because you're getting into bigger ranges of motion. And then third, you're just going to build a healthier system. So if you were doing things like Jefferson curls where you're rounding your back and letting the weight pull you into a big stretch, it just makes you a healthier, more resilient person. So look at the evidence. That's that. So thank you, High Energy Ape. Good question. All right. I'll take one more question. If anybody's got anything, If not, 45 seconds, and I'm out of here. So that's that. Hope you guys are doing well, training hard, and just being good, man. It's been a tough couple of weeks down here in Florida with the hurricanes, but I think we're making it through one day at a time. That's all you can do. We are our repetitive daily actions. So whatever's going on, just keep it up, keep it going, do your thing. Thanks for the sub, High Energy Ape. Appreciate you, man. Cool. All right, I'm calling it there, guys. If you're still with me, thank you so much for joining. Have a great night. Come back next Tuesday night for more Strongman talk, and have a championship evening.